Hey everyone, welcome to the third episode of our LinkedIn Live video series, Breaking New Ground. I'm Pulkit and I'm a part of the content marketing team here at MoEngage. Now, before we start, I would like to share a few housekeeping details with all of you. You can follow this conversation on the hashtag Breaking New Ground and feel free to share it within your network so more people can have a look at what we're talking about and the insights that we have for all of you. Since this is a live broadcast, I'm pretty sure you'll have a lot of questions, so feel free to add them in the comment section, and we'll take up all of those towards the end of this broadcast. So, yeah, let's get started. Now, it's been quite some time since most countries have entered a lockdown due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And during this time, there has been a significant shift in consumer behavior, causing both a positive and a negative impact on online businesses. Today, Hastu and we're going to be discussing how COVID-19 is shaping online businesses in Southeast Asia specifically. Welcome, Hastu.
Hey, Pulkit, thank you. And hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Hastu and I lead the growth efforts for us here in the Southeast Asia region for MoEngage. Now, while there are experts out there who are very well equipped to talk about uh, the impact that COVID-19 has had on people in general, I believe we're in a pretty good place to talk about the impact that rather the socioeconomic impact that COVID-19 has had on digital businesses in Southeast Asia. And also why this is probably the best time for traditional businesses to move to a more digital first setup, considering that people today are locked in their houses like we are right now. And businesses really need to find a newer and better way to engage, delight, and grow their audience right where they are. So the new normal for businesses really needs to be defined, rather redefined right now.
Yup, Hastu. So, yeah, folks, let's quickly go over the report that we're planning to discuss today, and I'll also talk about what we'll be covering in the discussion. So, we recently launched a report with Aptopia, which highlighted the business impact of COVID-19 on over 1.5 billion mobile app users, particularly from industries like online shopping, healthcare, media and entertainment, mobility, travel and hospitality, social media, real estate, video chat and online conference apps, and of course, food delivery apps. Now, we selected these users for our report from North America, from Europe, from the Middle East, from India, and Southeast Asia to try to cover all the regions at our disposal. Today, specifically, we're going to be handpicking the industries within Southeast Asia and sharing the impact on the number of new users as well as active mobile app users. We'll also be talking about what campaigns top brands are running during this time, and of course, what the next steps are for online businesses.
All right, perfect. So let's take a look at this COVID-19 impact quadrant for Southeast Asia, then, shall we?
Sure, Hastu, sure. So this is in fact the COVID-19 impact of businesses in Southeast Asia. And all the folks who are joining us today, you can get a copy of this quadrant as well as read the detailed report using the links that we put up in the comment section below.
All right, perfect. Now, as you can all see over here, we've plotted industries based on new users. Now, that essentially means the new downloads that an app has seen and active users. And that's where we're talking about the daily active user base of these apps. Now, the explosion quadrant, of course, has all of the industries and apps that have seen a big surge both in new and active users. The growth quadrant, on the other hand, represents industries that have seen an increase in active users. However, there has been a decline in the number of new users or rather downloads that they've been able to attract. The slowdown quadrant is, of course, the one that's hardest hit over here. And they are the industries that have seen a decline both in new users and in active users. And finally, it's the emergence quadrant. And that is where, while there's been a decrease in the active user base, there has been a increase in the number of new users they've been able to attract.
Yup, very well explained, Hastu. So, why don't we start with an industry that's on top of everyone's minds right now, the travel and hospitality industry. So, countries in Southeast Asia, they were actually the first ones to implement a complete domestic and international travel ban, especially countries like Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia. They they had a complete halt of flights both to and fro from these countries. Now, this naturally led to a steady decline in both new and active users for OTAs. In fact, OTAs saw a 37% decline in daily active users around the last week of February, which went up to 50% by the end of March. On the hospitality side of things, all the major hotel chains have shown a downward slump from as early as the second week of February. Now, businesses Southeast Asia, they naturally implemented work from home protocols earlier than most regions. This meant a complete stop of business travels. It meant a cancellation of all the physical seminars and events, conferences and meetups. Everything came to a complete halt. Right now, this led to a 30% decline in downloads and about a 10% decline in active users for hotel booking apps, also particularly apps that provide lodging and homestay experiences. Since we're also talking about travel, I would like to mention travel at a micro level, which is the mobility sector, primarily your ride hailing and your vehicle rental apps. Now, one of the most common use cases for mobility apps was regular travel to and fro from work. Naturally, due to all the work from home protocols and quarantine and social distancing, there has been a considerable decline in active users and about a 25% decline in new users since mid February in Southeast Asia. However, there is one data trend that I think all our folks here would really like to would find interesting, right? Uh, so there's this app called Lime, which is an electric scooter and a bike rental service app. It has its primary markets in North America and Europe, where they have seen a considerable decline. But one region where they have actually seen an increase in both new and active users is South Korea. Now, South Korea actually managed to flatten the COVID-19 curve without entering a complete lockdown. This led to South Koreans renting more and more self driven scooters and bikes from Lime in large numbers. So instead of actually going for public transport like buses and trams and metros, where the risk of spread is higher, they chose to rent bikes and vehicles for themselves. Hey Hastu, I guess you're on mute.
All right. So another thing these apps need to fix. Cool. So now I was just talking about how,
Yeah.
um, considering the big decline the travel has seen, how video chat apps like these are on the absolute other end of the spectrum, right? And yeah, work from home protocols have meant that we've all moved to a digital space, towards virtual rooms rather than the physical setups that we've been used to. How we are now talking to each other over this video chat where I find myself muted half the time, but yeah, so there's been a big shift in how we're talking to each other and how we're interacting with people. And in fact, online events themselves have increased significantly since the COVID-19 has started affecting a lot of these countries. So now what that means is more and more brands are conducting webinars, virtual meetups, roundtable discussions over videos. I mean, we ourselves have done plenty over the last month, if you're following us, right? And what this has meant is a 200% increase in the Southeast Asia region. So that's a huge number that's gone up over here. Now, but the the leader in this cohort has seen more than a 300% growth in its new user base.
Hey, Hastu, are you still there? Okay, I guess Hastu is facing a few technical difficulties. But yeah, while he comes back, let me cover a few things that he was talking about. So he was actually talking about video conference and video chat apps, right? Which are actually on the other side of the spectrum when you compare them to travel and hospitality apps.
Ah,
So,
great. I'm back.
yeah, hey,
Am I back?
Hastu. Yeah,
I
we
am.
can hear you now.
Okay. Where did you lose me?
So yes, I was just telling everyone how you were talking about video chat and conference apps. So why don't you start from Zoom? Probably you were talking about how their numbers are affected.
All right. I love the fact that you lost me while I'm talking about these video apps and
It's
while I'm
ironic.
actually talking about how everyone's moving these videos online. It was only fitting. All right. Cool. No, I was talking about how video apps in general have seen a 200% increase in Southeast Asia. But of course, there's Zoom, right? Zoom's really just taken over the globe right now. So they've actually seen a 300% increase in their new user base just in since the first week of March. So that's an amazing number that they've been seeing. And Microsoft Teams, which of course includes Skype and also Google Meets, they haven't been far behind Zoom when it comes to this trend. Now there is one app though that I would want to highlight that I kind of have to highlight considering how much I've been hearing about them, and that's House Party, right? Saying that their growth has been organic, rather saying that their organic growth has been meteoric, it's probably an understatement, right? The app has gone absolutely viral over the last few months. They've reported as much as a five-digit growth rate in the app downloads that they've seen in March alone. There was, of course, a bit of a scare for a while where House Party and its parent company, as well, there were allegations of data breaches and privacy concerns. We know Zoom's had some of that as well, but these claims have been denied, and hopefully these claims have been, rather, all of the issues that caused these claims have also been fixed. Now, just as video conferencing apps have seen a big surge in users, entertainment apps have also seen a lot of positivity right now. So they're looking at a 20% increase in both new and active users. Now, what that means is like everything else that we're doing, recreation's also moved online, right? Because I mean, we're not going out anymore. So we're stuck to our computers and we're stuck to looking up for our entertainment online. That means people are consuming more online content, streaming videos, TV shows, movies, and of course, even music. Everything's gone towards streaming today. And an interesting data trend that we noticed there is the fact that Netflix usage actually mirrors the decline in YouTube usage. Now, what that tells us is that people are spending more time focusing on long form content rather than the short videos that they used to watch while they were at work or while they were in transit. Now it's all about spending hours binge watching or watching videos, which wasn't actually the trend earlier. And there's a similar trend for social media apps here as well, right? People under lockdown are spending more and more time on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, you have you. And looks like these social challenges have been the preferred way for most people to keep engaged with their friends and family.
Yup. Really interesting stuff, Hastu. So now let's go back to the slowdown quadrant and look at another particular industry, right? So this is the real estate industry and the rental service apps. So in fact, the trend for them is quite predictable. In Southeast Asia, there has been about a 20% decline in new users and about an 8% decline in active users. Now, obviously, respecting quarantine and lockdown protocols, people in Southeast Asia, they aren't shifting homes, they aren't purchasing any new properties, right? In fact, the real estate and rental service giant Zillow, that probably all of us have heard about, they saw a downward trend in new app downloads as well as daily active users. If you look at their worldwide data, there has been about a 24% decline in downloads. Now, To them, this is a huge decrease, especially if you consider that their number of users are in absolute millions, right? As long as social distancing policies continue, I believe house hunting is going to be the least of consumers' concerns right now. They have other stuff on their mind, like online shopping for groceries and essentials.
Right. And yeah, speaking of online shopping, which has been a favorite for a lot of people in Southeast Asia, and that's a trend that's just going up, right? So we've seen a 40% increase in active users, um, and this is the existing users that are now coming back and being a lot more active. So that's a 40% increase, and that's especially when we're talking about grocery deliveries and essential services. And although physical stores and retail outlets have remained functioning in a lot of countries, we've seen that people are just opting to get their essentials and grocery items delivered to their doorsteps instead today, rather than traveling outside and going to the store. So that's been a significant shift in consumer behavior there. And speaking of delivery itself, it's also your food delivery apps that have been seeing a steady increase in active users. Restaurant partners, of course, are taking WHO mandated steps and safety protocols to maintain hygiene in their kitchens, in their packaging, and of course, also the delivery riders are following all of these protocols. Temperature checks have become a mandate for all delivery partners. And I think what's that meant is that people have confidence in these restaurants and delivery services to deliver to them food that is hygienic and one that does not pose a big risk to them. And what we've also seen is quite an interesting reason behind this increase in active users. And it's the fact that people have started gifting food to their family. And this isn't something that used to happen a lot earlier, but seems to be on the rise right now. So people are ordering on behalf of their families, gifting to them. Another interesting trend we've noticed is the fact that food delivery apps have seen a increase in order frequency of comfort food. So desserts, especially during dinner time, there's a big surge over there, just showing how hard we all seem to be taking this being stuck at home.
Yep, yep. Really interesting points, Hastu. So yeah, by the way, I think we've covered more or less how businesses are impacted once again, both positively and negatively by this pandemic. So let's now delve deep into what brands can do to adapt to this shift in consumer behavior, right? So first and foremost, all the marketers out there, you guys, you have to use this time to revisit your existing strategies and figure out ways to adapt to these current times as well as in the near future. I don't think that this is going to die down soon enough, right? Marketers, you've got to realize that this is not business as usual. You've got to review all your active and scheduled ad campaigns. Check if they're relevant to the current situation of the customers. You know what was relevant a few weeks ago may no longer be useful to the customer today. And if something's not working, turn off the campaign immediately, right? Cut your losses, save your budget, move on. Right now, the customer's current pain points supersede everything.
Right. No, absolutely. And yeah, just before I talk a little bit more about some of the strategies people can deploy, if any of you have any questions, you've got the comment section open. Just feel free to send over any questions you have, and we'd be happy to pick it up. But yeah, just talking about the fact that yep, it brands really need to reconsider everything they're doing, take a hard look at the campaigns that they're running. I think it's also very important for brands to understand their customers and understand that I, as a consumer, am not the same person, not the same consumer as I was a few months ago. And something that I would like to highlight here that we've seen some brands do very well is diversify into essential segments and towards essential products. And this is something they've done either on their own or by partnerships with other brands as well. So I think it's a lot about finding out what products are important to your consumers today. What are they looking for on your website or your app? What products have they been visiting, buying, searching for? Use the internet. I mean, that's pretty much all we have to ourselves right now. So use the internet. Try to figure out what trends what search volumes have been trending, and how do you as a brand solve the problems that people have today. Example there is companies like Tokopedia and Bukalapak and Blibli. I mean, they're e-commerce giants, right? Everybody knows them in Southeast Asia, and they've been making significant changes to their business model, where they are trying to assist more with the coronavirus response. They are trying to optimize the products that they're offering, and they are trying to offer a convenience and b also information to their customers at the right time, and that's been very important for them. There's also been a lot of brands that we've noticed who shifted towards production of hand sanitizers, making masks, hospital gowns. So a lot of trying to understand again and being empathetic to the community as a whole and trying to solve those problems. Even food takeaway services, right? They were very quick to implement a no contact service, giving people who are self isolating or just keeping a distance from other people during this time an option to continue using their service. And I think that's very important. How do you ensure that you remain relevant is something that brands need to do. And um, from what we've seen, the only way to do that is to be empathetic, to empathize with the changing consumer need, to empathize not only the products that you're offering, not only the services that you're offering, but also the communication that you're making with your customers. I know, I really do know we're in the middle of a pandemic, and that's because I haven't stepped outside in what, 2 months now. So I don't need you to remind me every day, telling me that, hey, you're stuck at home. I know I'm stuck at home. So let's focus instead on how do you add value to me being stuck at home rather than just informing me of it, right?
Right.
And an example there has been fitness apps. I think they've done really, really well with their workout from home challenges where they've gamified the entire process and made that experience of working out from home, which isn't something that I enjoyed earlier, a lot better for me. And giving me points, giving me grades according to my performances has really added value to my experience of working from, or rather working out from home.
Right, right. A really good point, Hastu. I think, in fact, brands, what they're going to now realize is that content is going to triumph every other effort, right? Brands will need to double down on content creation and use that to engage their existing users and make sure that they don't go away, right? So, travel app marketers who are joining us today, you folks, you guys can actually leverage UGC, user generated content, right? You guys can host competitions, ask your users to share the best travel stories they have, encourage them to share videos and photographs of their most memorable travel destinations. Content can in fact also be allowed to win back consumer confidence, especially which has taken a major hit during these times. Food delivery apps, they can show photographs or videos of their food preparation and packaging processes to reassure consumers that they are actually taking the right steps to maintain hygiene and safety. Mobility apps, yes, all you mobility app marketers out there who are from, once again, vehicle rental and ride hailing apps, you folks can talk about how you're sanitizing your vehicles and how you're conducting temperature checks for your employees. Once again, all of this is to reassure your consumers that you are taking care of their safety. So, yeah, Hastu, I think with this, we wrap up our discussion today. I see that we already have a few questions lined up. So, I guess the first one is,
Right.
how is healthcare impacted during all of this? So, why don't you go ahead and answer these questions?
All right. Yeah, that is a good one. I know we haven't really covered healthcare today, but let's talk about it a little bit. I think healthcare has been extremely interesting, and it's been uh, quite an anomaly from the sort of trends that we've seen with other businesses. Right, the number of new users has increased by about 25%, but what is quite interesting is that the number of active users has actually dropped by 40%. Now, what that means to us is that you're coming into a healthcare app today with a very different question than you did a few months ago. So your expectations or your need from a healthcare app has actually changed. And to combat this fall in active users, I think Allo Doctor is probably the best example that I can think of. They've done really, really well in taking a step towards engaging with their customers. Now, what they did was use the technology that's been around for a while, that's been on their website and their apps for a while, and that's the real-time chatbots. But they started deploying these real-time chatbots to help users with COVID-19 related queries and safety measures, because that's where most people were coming to their app from, questions about COVID-19. So the responses of these chatbots now have been tuned by, of course, a panel of doctors and experts, luckily not by the marketers themselves. Um, so now these chatbots are, of course, giving me as a consumer answers to my questions about COVID-19 itself, and again, that's about adding value to the sort of problems that I have and solutions to the problems that I have today. And that itself has resulted in more than 1 million user interactions within a week. So that's the sort of power of just retrofitting an existing technology into solving a current problem.
Right, right, right. So yeah, I think there's another question related to BFSI here. So yeah, how is BFSI impacted? This is actually a very good question. So if you look at our quadrant, BFSI comes down in the slowdown quadrant, where they've seen about a 25% drop in downloads and about a 20% drop in active users. However, one fact I would like to highlight here is that BFSI is an umbrella term for a lot of different kind of apps, right? You've got your online banking apps, you've got your payment apps, you've got your stock market related apps, and then you have apps that provide all of these together, right? So delving deep into the impact of COVID-19 on each type is slightly beyond the scope of this discussion. But if you look at it from an overview level, yes, BFSI falls in the slowdown quadrant for Southeast Asia. Uh, yup, I think this is all that we have. Uh,
Yeah, I think also saw a question on e-commerce, retail, and logistics scenarios from
yeah,
Swapna. Okay, so yeah, I think we did briefly touch upon it. As you'll see, e-commerce largely lies in the growth sector here. Retail is it's another question now, isn't it? Are retail stores open? So to be honest, there isn't a regional view we can really take of it, because some countries have retail stores open and some don't. But I think the bigger focus point that we've been recommending to our retail customers and just anybody in retail is it's time for you to go digital as well, right? Because there is going to remain to be a slowdown for a little bit, at least, being optimistic, and that means people are looking online to make their purchases of not only essentials but absolutely anything, right? And that's what has kept online shopping in that growth quadrant. So I'd say it's a lot about how do you give your consumers confidence in the products that you're delivering, and the fact that your logistics, talking about the logistics business scenarios, that your logistics themselves are following the health and safety protocols that would ensure my protection and my safety when you're delivering to me. So I think it's a lot about how do you use communication to instill confidence in your consumers, and how do you find the products that I want to buy or I need today, because like we highlighted, they're very different today than they were 2 months ago. So yeah, I'd say find the right products, communicate with empathy, and it's going to be a lot of consumer confidence building, really, that would take the cake here.
yep, I think that's really vital, right? Yep. So, guys, thank you for coming. Thank you, Hastu, for actually taking time out and sharing these interesting insights. I really enjoyed this conversation,
Absolutely.
and yep, I really hope all our viewers out there they also had some really good takeaways. Folks, if you found this session useful, do share this live feed within your network. I'm pretty sure there are people out there who could use these insights so that they could implement it right from the get-go. We're going to be back next week with the next episode of Breaking New Ground, where we will be discussing COVID 19's impact on businesses in India and in the Middle East. And just like today, we'll also be sharing some strategies for B2B brands in the region. Do not forget to follow our LinkedIn page and get the reminder for the next episode. You can also find more details in the comment section below. Have a great day ahead, guys. Stay safe.
Thank you, everyone.